Hello ladies, gents, and everyones. It is Thursday, March 24th. We just passed the equinox, so happy spring, or for my southern galactites, happy fall. But we're here to talk about this week's space and astronomy news. Do you recall the drama back when NASA awarded only one moonlander contract to SpaceX back in April 2021? While the agency had hoped to award two, it just didn't have the funds. And then the losing bidders, Dynetics and Blue Origin, lodged an unsuccessful complaint, which was then escalated to an unsuccessful lawsuit. Meanwhile, the Senate Appropriations Committee was telling NASA that it had to select a second lander, even though the funds that came along with that direction just weren't enough to do so. But now it seems like that funding is going to come through. While the official budget hasn't been released yet, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson gave a press conference yesterday and said that there is congressional support and support from the Biden administration for this second moon lander, and so the money is going to be there. So a new RFP is going to go out sometime this spring, open to everyone except SpaceX, who already has the contract, for a new lander that can take astronauts from the lunar gateway down to the lunar surface. The award is expected for 2023, with a timeline for 2026 to 2027 for the new lander to be developed. If you recall, recently Russia canceled the launch of a group of OneWeb satellites in response to UK sanctions. Now, those UK sanctions were, of course, in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine last month. Well, this week, OneWeb announced that they have an agreement with SpaceX to become their new launcher, with the first launch to happen sometime this year. With their Starlink constellation, SpaceX is actually a direct competitor to OneWeb, but the OneWeb CEO said in a statement that SpaceX's support reflects our shared vision for the boundless potential of space. And of course, 3 Russian cosmonauts just arrived at the International Space Station last Friday. With 10 crew members now on board, the station is very busy running science experiments and just completing a spacewalk to prepare for an upcoming solar array installation. And of course, it did not escape anyone's notice that the 3 new crew members arrived wearing bright yellow suits with blue trim, the colors of the Ukrainian flag. Many have speculated that this was an intentional choice and perhaps some sort of anti-war statement in support of Ukraine. Others have pointed out that these colors are the school colors of the university that all 3 of these cosmonauts graduated from. When asked, the cosmonauts themselves did not have a lot to say. They simply stated that it was their turn to choose a color and they had a lot of yellow material to use up. Of course, Roscosmos, whose director has been very outspoken in support of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has denied any sort of political meaning, saying sometimes yellow is just yellow. In any case, regardless of their feelings about the ongoing war in Ukraine, the crew members on board the ISS must continue to work together to keep the station operating. It's kind of hard to believe nowadays, but the very first exoplanet was only discovered 30 years ago. That's within my lifetime and probably many of yours. And this week we crossed another big milestone, the 5,000th known exoplanet. And yes, this is a very arbitrary milestone that is significant simply because of our preference for base 10 and what appear to be round numbers, but it's still very exciting. That's 5,000 worlds that can all teach us something new about how planets and stars form, how planetary systems evolve, and what conditions might be like for potential other species in the galaxy. This number, by the way, only reflects confirmed exoplanets. There are thousands more candidates, and the number is only going to keep rocketing upwards as there are ongoing missions that are still discovering exoplanets, like NASA's TESS and ESA's Gaia, and many upcoming missions that will discover more, like ESA's Plato and NASA's Roman missions. I majored in astrophysics as an undergrad, and I remember that we talked about exoplanets on like one day of one class. At the time, I think there was something around 500 known exoplanets. Now we know of 10 times that. It truly boggles the mind, and I love it, especially as an exoplanet scientist myself. Speaking of mind-boggling, have you heard of orcs? And no, I don't mean the evil race of goblin-like creatures that hunted hobbits. I'm talking about odd radio circles. I mean, the name pretty much sums it up. These are circles that are visible in radio wavelengths, and they're very unusual and have puzzled astronomers since they first discovered them in 2020. Orcs are also huge, stretching about 1 million light years across, and they're also very faint. We've only detected 5 of them, and they all seem to occur with active galaxies. And now astronomers have taken the most detailed image yet of an orc using the Meerkat radio telescope. With this new data, astronomers have some better theories about where these objects may have come from. Right now, the leading ideas are a massive explosion, like perhaps from a merger of supermassive black holes in the host galaxy, jets being sent out from the center of the host galaxy, or a starburst termination shock from stars rapidly forming in the host galaxy. Future observations with even more sensitive radio telescopes, like the Square Kilometre Array, will hopefully give astronomers more information and help us solve the puzzle of these orcs. And maybe they'll become normal radio circles. NERCs. When it's time for taking medication, most of us probably think of popping a pill or maybe a spoonful of some very awful tasting liquid. But what if instead you were just chomping down on a crisp leaf of lettuce? That's what astronauts might have to look forward to. So astronauts lose bone density, about 1% per month that they're in microgravity. Right now they do a series of exercises to help combat this, but there's also a potential to take a human hormone that can stimulate bone growth. But right now such a hormone would need to be injected, and storing and administering it on a very long space trip, like say to Mars, would be very difficult. So researchers at UC Davis are working on getting that hormone into lettuce so the astronauts could just take seeds with them, grow the lettuce, and eat it. Now this research is still in the very early stages, but they have managed to get some of the hormone to show up in the lettuce. Definitely an interesting idea on how to solve some of these challenges facing long space flights, and would probably be much preferred by the astronauts who would otherwise be injecting this medication and who are eating mostly freeze-dried food, so fresh greens would be great. And in fact, the researchers chose lettuce because that is something that has already been grown and eaten in space. Well, that is all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good one, and I will see you again next week. Bye!